we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the Dragon's Forge podcast, episode 3, featuring our guests, the PigeonBots from Maryland. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi, I'm Eddie. I'm the captain of the team. Good to be
Hi,
here.
I'm Alex, and I'm the lead design.
And I'm Sophia. I'm one of the programmers.
Nice. And can you tell us a bit about your team, like when you were formed, anything unique, how many members you have, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I can talk a bit about that. So our team was the PigeonBots was founded during the summer before the 2023-2024 season power play. We currently, I believe, what is it, 10 or 11?
I think it's 11.
Okay, 11, yeah. 11 members. And it's been very interesting. It was a very interesting first season on that team. I'd say about that much.
Nice. Yeah, I think a lot of teams can say that for their first season, that there were quite a
Yeah.
few learning curves.
Yeah.
So the way this is going to work for the rest of the podcast is that we'll ask you some questions. They'll be about hardware, software, notebook. We'll have some just fun, random questions thrown in there. But if y'all have any questions for us, feel free to ask them as well. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be one way. This is an open conversation. So if we want to get started with our first trivia question. All right, this one's a bit easy, but who founded First and FTC?
I'm gonna be honest. It's been a while since I actually I can't.
Ooh.
We're
Very good question.
I remember it's like
Don't-
Dean something, right? Because like Dean's List.
I
Yeah.
don't I don't okay.
you're on to something. Yeah.
What's his last name? Dang. We're dumb. Um
I'll give you. You said Dean. That's pretty good. It's Dean Kamen.
okay.
Um,
Uh,
I mean, let's
he,
hope we can yeah, okay.
so I think that was probably one of the easier trivia questions. So we'll
Oh
see.
no, this
oh
We
boy.
got this.
There might be some interesting answers coming up. All right, so we'll
no.
go ahead and move on to our first hardware question. Duncan, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So the question that we have for you guys is, how do you guys come up with your design ideas? Because I know our process can be a little bit finicky at times, a little bit all over the place before we localize. So I just kind of probably an interesting question to ask you guys.
So to come up with design ideas, we kind of gather as a group when the season's video is released, and we kind of brainstorm ways of like what's our game plan pretty much during the robot game, and we just kind of come up with design ideas based around that.
Yeah. And to add on to that, it's kind of I guess the way our team structure helps with that. Generally, we'll all kind of pitch into the design at least at some point because while we do have like designated designers, everybody kind of works on the road at some point, so we'll all run into some issues during the process, like either designing or drawing, like sketching out the design. Because actually, whenever a notebook people does a lot of that, like the hands drawings, so everybody will generally at some point kind of mention an idea or give some feedback to design.
That's pretty unique, actually, I think, because I know most of us touch on it sometimes, but like there's definitely times where a whole robot can see multiple iterations, and I know some people don't touch it because they're busy planning outreach or doing other things for the team that are like super important, but I think that's really cool. And let me ask you, so you say you gather at the beginning of the season. Do you ever have any like over winter break or something like that? You're like, okay, we're all going to reconvene and reassess our strategy. Do you ever have any like big moments like that throughout your season?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, you go
Most
ahead.
years, we pretty much spend like our breaks just camped out, just doing FTC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to second that. I've spent way too many hours at the center, like the place we work at the for the robotics, um, during like winter breaks, especially last year and this year. I think I spent majority of my time at those places if you don't count sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and move on to the next one. All right. Who wants to take this one? We can go, John. You want to take this?
All right. So how do you guys decide whether or not to implement an idea? I know for us, it's kind of always been we may have like two or three designs for like a certain claw or mechanism, and it's a little bit difficult to figure out which one to go with without actually having like prototypes. What's y'all's general strategy? I've seen some teams use like a point system, like a star system.
Uh, I don't think our system's not nearly as systematized like that. We kind of just we just kind of like start building it at least because we have access to a couple of 3D printers. So with just some spare parts, we'll just 3D print to design out and then just kind of do some testing with it. Alex, we did a lot,
Yeah.
but yeah, the intake this year, like
Yeah, so this year, we had a couple ideas. One of them was like an active intake. So for that, we just grabbed a couple of spare axles and then just 3D printed a box real quick, slapped some noodles on there from I think a couple of years ago, and then we just used a drill to power it and see how well it did.
yeah,
Nice. So y'all take more of the prototype, just like don't like think about the theory really. Just if we think it's a good idea, run with it, see where it takes us, and
I
if
mean,
not, then go back to the drawing board.
it's
That's
a it's a bit of both, I guess. More in the prototype, there is no like, as I said, one point system, but we'll generally kind of decide as a team the direction we want to take the robot into, and then we'll prototype that approach and see if we were right, like with their thinking, and if not, then since it's early in the season, we can always pivot at that point.
right. Yeah. What's like this season, the furthest off you've been from your current design? So whether that was like first week of the season, you were gonna go quad, then you decided active intake or something else. Do you have any times you've been like just completely off at the start?
I don't think at the start we were too completely off. Like I think we really just stuck to the active intake part of it. I think after our first qualifier, we realized like some problems with it, and then tested some other intakes. Like um, we did some testing with like just a claw that would like pick up from above, but we found that our active intake just worked better.
I'll be honest. I think our design this season has been staying pretty consistent. Like honestly, I think you could pull up a CAD from like, our first iteration, like even like the intake. You'll see like design, like you'll see iterations, but I don't think anything major. I think the most major thing we did this season was basically increase the width of our robot.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think we, Duncan, would you say it's probably about the same for us this season? We've kind of kept the same idea, just
Yeah,
made
for the
it.
most part. The only thing we really switched in tech was we added the color sensor to a different portion. We just kind of changed that around a little bit. And then we added the surgical tubing to just increase the or decrease a little on the servos, but nothing major. Just kind of small tweaking here and there.
Yeah, so it seems like pretty similar in that regard. Um, if you want to move on, I will take the next question. So this is something that it seems like you guys involve a lot of people in every build, and this is something we struggle with sometimes. So how would you recommend keeping track of person-specific goals or instructions?
Um, okay, so I can talk about that as well. So we generally what we'll do is because we'll actually have like weekly meetings with the whole team. It just because their schedules lined up, so it would make sense to do that. Um, so generally, since people are generally like we sign each person on the team is assigned a role, and they can work within the sub team to kind of establish like a list of like subtasks from like the main schedule, I guess that like at the start of the season, we kind of came up with a couple of deadlines for like a robot and like folio and like a couple other things, and then the sub teams kind of split off to like I know the design team specifically, you guys split off to like do different steps of like this which subsystem to do when, who would do them. and when you guys kept together to, I guess, like talk about it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That's generally how we kept things going like that. I know at one point we did try to do something like write everything down. But I don't think we ever took that idea any further, mostly because I don't believe it was fully like people like fully got on board with that. It was kind of like we made it and then nobody ever bothered to really look at it after that, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah, we had a similar experience. We have this app called ClickUp. It's similar to like Asana, or if you've heard of
Okay.
those, the just like management softwares.
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, guys, we're gonna write down every task we have. And we started like right after kickoff. And then 2 weeks later, I think there's been no activity in the entire app since then. So
Yo,
I know exactly what
that's
you're
fair.
saying. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
If I can add something on top of that, just like at least from my perspective, something that I guess like keeps everyone really focused is that um like we all have like our own specific tasks or goals that we have to finish, but like whenever someone finishes something, just like Eddie does a good job with like managing everyone and checking up on people and making sure people finish their task. And if someone like finishes something, then like I guess they don't feel afraid to like ask like, is there anyone else that needs help or like what else can I do? And then like they're usually given another like goal or task to do. If there's nothing that they need to do in their specific sub team. So I guess that's like what helps us keep us productive.
Nice. Yeah. I think we have a decent ability to do that as well. Where if someone, I know Duncan is a quick worker sometimes, and he'll finish a task and then help out, whether it's software, hardware, doesn't really matter. Um, and that's super important to have like a well-functioning team, I think, is just helping each other. Yeah.
I mean, get on board with that.
Yeah. All right. So if we want to move on, I think we have a fun question now. All right. This is, I think, the second easiest one on here.
Oh
Who
boy.
coined the term gracious professionalism? Gracious professionalism, excuse me.
Oh, I'm
We have
sensing
his
it.
picture right here.
I'm sensing a pattern in these questions, and I don't like it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Any guesses? Just
I know. I remember it's the other guy who was involved with the founding of first, like really early. Can't remember the name though. Like I think like Flowers.
okay. We're getting somewhere. That's
That's all.
good.
That's all I remember. I'm a be
Okay, that's
real.
better than me. I don't remember anything.
Same.
Sophia, any guesses?
Um,
Hey,
I'll go
just
with Eddie's.
just.
Okay.
I think Flowers is his maybe last name.
No, you were on it with Flowers. His name is Dr. Woody Flowers.
Oh,
So
okay. Oh,
I don't know
okay.
if y'all are familiar with Walk Like Woody Day. It's something that First usually celebrates. And it's like all the teams on social media post a picture of their shoes, and it's to remember Dr. Woody Flowers. So he's played a huge role in FTC. All right,
I
so
can do that then.
we can move on now to software. Neil, I'll let you take this section away.
All right, yeah. So, how do you come up with strategies for like each game, especially like between, starting meets and like ending up in a tournaments and things like that?
By game, do you
Oh yeah,
mean
you
like?
can.
No, sorry, Sophie, you can go ahead
No,
first.
you can go.
No, I insist you go first.
Uh, so this doesn't really actually directly answer the question, but just like from last year, I guess we had trouble with like maximizing our auto because we hadn't really, I forgot, we hadn't really planned to do that like since the beginning with the hardware. So I guess something this year we tried to think of was like from the set point, how do we want to get like the most points possible, of course. Or like how to not, I guess, have the robots hardware hopefully not be like a limiting factor in that. Also, Eddie, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna no, that was a fair point I was gonna make. But I was just gonna say, when you mean by game, do you mean like individual round or like the overall season?
Overall, like for like auto and like teleop, like
Ah,
what how do you guys like develop that
oh yeah,
idea?
then okay, then you are on the right track, Sophia. Okay. Yeah, I think it all kind of starts with that first season meeting. We when we make our design, we choose an aspect of the game to focus in on. Like our design around, and I think was it Alex this year was the samples. I think we chose to specialize in sample cycling, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember since we were looking at the since yeah, Sophia did mention that since we were looking at the auto from last year, big issue that actually came up with that was um we hadn't optimized our robot to work with autonomous, so something and while yeah, we did focus most of our efforts on making a good sample cycle bot, we will like the designers kind of made sure that we were going to be at least semi-competent at getting specimens, especially during autonomous, because that's where a lot of the points are section of the game. So I can speak. So that's like the pre like before we get into any of the game stuff, like actual like playing around. Like
All right, and then so you said you chose to focus on samples, which we did too. Was that more of like an alliance-centric view? Like, oh, there's going to be a lot of teams doing specimens. We want to be a good alliance partner, or was it more just it might be a bit easier to do samples, so that's why we're going to go with samples? Like, which kind of route, or just a completely different one did you follow?
ah, okay. Um, I mean, I'm trying to just think about it. I'd I'd have to say that I think it was probably the latter. I think just started the season, we wanted to get something out there. Um,
Hmm.
I think I think we did end up being able to at least semi-balance both parts of that in the end. Uh, like doing be able to do both at least decently well. But yeah, it was very much it was just gonna be easier. I think it kind of I think happened this like in I think a few seasons ago, during I think Freight Frenzy it was that most teams focused on cycling like there was a shipping hub container that was
Hmm.
like the main way to score. But then there was also like a non-line specific like second scoring zone that
The
not a lot
shared
of
one,
yeah
right?
the shared
Yeah,
one yeah not a lot of teams actually like spec into so during like especially at by states and like at states and world those teams became a lot more valuable to the majority of teams who would just cycle the shared one I mean the main one.
yeah. I can second that. That's exactly we're a primarily sample team right now. We're working on a second robot that hopefully will be able to do both equally. And it was kind of the same thing. It was like these are just the first few meets. We just need something that can score pretty consistently, and we didn't feel like we'd be able to develop a specimen scoring system that we would trust within the time. So we just went with samples also. But
uh,
all right.
um kind of wish some of our draft team was they're really good. Fortunately they're not, so that
That's a
sucks.
bummer. All right, Neil, you got software again?
Yeah, I got you. So what like whenever you like program, right, obviously we're gonna get bugs. So like what's your like general strategy for eliminating and like testing for them and figuring out where they are?
Well, I guess it's more of like general programming strategies, but it's just isolating the problem, making sure that like whatever you're trying to fix is like the correct part of the code that is supposed to be fixed. Um, and just like stripping everything down. So like um when you tinker with that part, you can really diagnose what the issue is. And then as to actually like figuring out the bug, it usually depends on the problem. Um, but it can really just be trial and error or just like going on online and trying to figure it out. But
Yeah, I
Are
can.
there any? Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, Sophie. I think you did. You have a bit more you wanted to say?
no, no, you can go.
Nah. I can. There's actually a story from this season I could talk about. We had a long running issue for like a couple weeks with Roadrunner, like a movement library. Anyways, and I could, for not the life of me, the programmers, like, because I help with a lot of programming. For the life of me, I could not figure why the robot was moving the opposite X direction. Like every single time we program it, would just move into the opposite direction that I set it to. And it took a competition and then talking with a lot of teams there for me to kind of realize that maybe something more basic that I like it maybe not was it wasn't something within like I guess the process like the complex part of the tuning process, but rather which I had been like debugging the whole time and hadn't gotten anything, but rather something more basic. And it turned out I had configured the wheels incorrectly. So the wheels were configured as the front wheels, and that's why the robot hadn't been able to move properly like laterally. And it's kind of like I guess demonstrated that you kind of have to think about the basic. Uh, I have to kind of go basic, like I guess think about whether or not something that you did at the start that you just assumed was correct was the reason why you were causing the issues. And I think just something that our team took away from that was you should that you never want to assume like that what you think is correct when programming because that could easily be the reason why your code isn't working at all or the robot's not behaving the way you intended it to and you just spent like weeks trying a different solution when it would have taken like 20 minutes just to look at that portion and realize oh did it wrong.
Yeah, we had the exact same situation actually, when we were tuning auto, or not actually not even auto, like we were just tuning Pedro pathing. We were like, or I was actually just I had the robot at my house and I'm like, why is this issue happening? So I reach out to the Pedro pathing people and I'm like, hey, what's this issue? I spend like hours on this problem and then I realized that I used the wrong motor like names for half of it. And that was the reason we were getting skewed numbers because one of the encoders just wasn't reporting data.
Okay, that's that's very fair.
Yeah, I think Neil has quite a few
Oh yeah.
hours of sleep he's lost from just random stupid things like that that we definitely could have thought of by ourselves, but we oftentimes ask like mentors or whatever, and they usually help us figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah,
All right, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
no, I was just saying. Oh wait, actually, I do know that one. The next one. I
Oh
remember.
no, the hardest one.
Yeah, some team, because it wasn't on the ban list at one point. So one team just put a bunch of coffee beans in the robot. I remember. I don't remember which season specifically, but one of the other designers told me about this. Um, and at one point, I'm pretty sure they scattered all over the field and disrupted play. So that's why they're banned now.
Okay, those are both very true statements. Do you by chance know the purpose the beans are serving on the robot? Because I think that's the interesting part, at least for
Yeah,
me.
I remember there was a specific function. It wasn't there was I wish she was here now. Isabel, one of our designers, told me about this. She's do either of you know? You know what? I'm just assuming you guys know this.
No,
Yeah, all
so to
right.
keep them awake. Probably not.
What the robot runs like caffeine.
Yeah. Any last guesses?
Was it? Oh wait. Was it uh was it for grip? Was it for like to prove the grip, like the friction of like a
Base
mechanism?
basically.
I
You're
can't
right
remember
there.
yeah, okay.
Buzzer beater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. 3 point
Yo, let's
at
go.
the buzzer. No, what it was is they were putting ground up coffee beans in basically a balloon,
Oh,
and they were using one of the motors to create a vacuum behind it. And what it would do is it would basically adapt to the shape of whatever it was they were trying to pick up. And it was basically a universal gripper. So they could pick up whatever they wanted.
oh, that's
And
crazy.
there's two reasons. There's two reasons it got banned. One is what you said, it got punctured and spilled out over the field. But also because they were using a motor to run a vacuum, I think their battery voltages were dropping to like 7 or 8 by the end of each match, like from full. Just
Ouch.
because it was, yeah, so it
Yeah.
was terrible. Um, so that's probably for the better that it was banned. But
And that also, because it's a vacuum, it's a pneumatic, which is illegal.
Right.
yeah, so illegal now at least. I don't know what the rules were like back then, but yeah, that's the history of the coffee bean and first tech challenge. All right. So moving on to, I think, our last notebook section. John, you want to take this away?
Sure. So, how do you guys split up working on portfolio and I guess all the related documentation for it? Because basically every year for us during portfolio time, there's like a scramble to get everything done, and we kind of approach it very egalitarianly, where like we all just chip in on where we can. You guys have like a more organized system for that, or just kind of like a free for all?
Uh, we have we do have a like we actually have like a documentation slash outreach sub team. Like a lot of the outreach people will basically kind of take over a lot of the documentation. Um, so at least for the formatting and whatnot. So essentially each member, like one member of like each sub team, I think it's Chris. He's one of our designers. He does a lot of the interface for like the design for the notebook. Um, like they'll feed the design team, like the documentation team, sorry, a lot of the information, kind of like which is like also helps them to kind of get up to speed with what that team has been doing in this whole time. And what they'll do is that once they've been given the data, they do a lot of the formatting and like because they're really good at like graphic design and whatnot. So that they're like really good at like actually formatting out like the notebook or the portfolio to accentuate, I guess, emphasize what we want the judges to know about our team and about our robot.
In terms of like documentation, um, yep, I guess we just like have a big Google document where we just like create each meeting each like sub team tries to put any notes on what they got done that meeting. Um, and since this extends back to like when this season starts, it's really useful to look back on and fill in any information in the notebook. I mean portfolio.
Yeah, I think something we've been having a bit of trouble with because we're making our portfolio right now. We have our first league tournament in about a week and a half, and we have a lot of images that like everyone has them, whether it's in the group chat or team Discord, whatever. And we're like, what exactly was the context from this? So usually we remember, but there's sometimes it's like I have no idea. Yeah.
That's fair. We've been trying to get better at that. Like we'll take a lot of photos, especially during like robot building sessions. So if we want like so we have like a record of a bunch of, I guess, pictures of our robots at different stages. So we can put that in our portfolio for when we're going to go to competitions. Yes, that's not something we did last year very well. I think we suffered from that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, last year I think we just grabbed a bunch of images from the CAD, like going back in time for each one and just like kind of putting them together as some sort of timeline.
Yeah. That's
quality could have been better.
all good. Yeah. And
Yeah,
actually, this is just a question I have because I'm not very familiar with First in Maryland. What does y'all's season timeline look like? Because I know we have our first league tournament coming up. Like, did you already have yours? Is it coming in a couple weeks? Like, how does that look?
Uh, February 8th. Yeah, I'm not tripping, right? Pretty sure it's February 8th.
Yeah, I think it's February 8th.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I know a couple other states have it really early. Some have it really late in like close to the end of March. Like
Yeah.
it's all
No.
scattered, but yeah, ours is in
Yeah.
February.
And then from there, do you have like areas or is it state or
Oh, it just go. Oh, so our region. Oh no, right.
Are
I
you
don't think
just saying
we.
like when states was?
I states is. I don't think we have league tournament unless those are your qualifiers. Because
yeah, it's sort of the same as qualifiers.
yeah,
Yeah.
no. Okay, no. Our qualifiers start in like what, November?
I think mid-November,
Yeah, like
maybe.
last week of November, and they'll run all the way through the end of January. We actually qualified at like a tournament, like I think it was like a week ago, like 2 weeks ago, right? I believe.
Oh, so you
Uh,
guys like, is there like one tournament that qualifies you? Is it like your performance overall, like multiple tournaments?
One. It's
Okay.
just one.
And that like that qualified like regionals or state?
Well, regionals and states are the same thing for us.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
Maryland, we don't have our own states. We're combined with I think Virginia and West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
We've
That's
been,
actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
For uh,
go ahead, John, you can tell him.
for us, we have the league tournament, which is like our big tournament, and then from there you can advance either to semi areas, which is like your city basically, or areas, which is like your city and a few other nearby cities. You can skip them, and then from areas you advance to state.
ah,
So
And then from state is world. So yeah, we have
you
to
guys, which,
do quite a few tournaments.
which region, like in Texas again?
central.
Central
Central.
Texas.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. You have a lot of teams there.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have Austin, San Antonio, and then just surrounding suburbs, that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
I think it's
That's
like 600 or 700 teams alone. I'm
that's
sure.
in all of Texas.
There actually
Yeah.
there are teams in our city who aren't in our region or like in our league.
League. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So it's fun though, because like there's some teams you only run into if you're at state or you know areas, and so it's good to see them, even though it's like, yeah, we've run scrimmages with you, but we finally get to see you at a competition. That's kind of neat, I think.
It's yeah, I think we only have like what I think last year, I can't say this year. But last year I think we only had 240 we had 243 teams in total across the three like the 3/4 states.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a lot smaller, I guess, but still much bigger than I think we're the I think was it the third largest region or second? It might be third. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I think Texas is definitely an exception. There's like, I think California, Michigan are pretty huge, and then Texas is right up there.
yeah, I mean,
But
I do actually want to check. I'm just curious. Yeah, there's Michigan. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was just curious. Uh, no, because I also know they split up like New York into upstate and just like the boroughs plus Long Island,
oh yeah.
which is kind of funny. Yeah. How many teams are no, I just thought of it. If there's how many teams are in Central specifically? That's like too many.
I'm
Like
trying to
I
think.
can look that up for you. One sec.
190.
Wow.
yeah,
All
that's
right.
kind of
Well,
crazy.
Or
That's
he's locked
crazy.
in.
187 actually. But
Right.
yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. That's crazy actually.
And that
Yeah.
basically includes San Antonio and Austin.
Yeah. And then we have
Yeah.
North Texas with Dallas. They have a lot of teams up there
Yeah, and
also.
all of Texas is 633.
Yo, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit.
That dropped from last year. I think it was like 680 last year.
It was 671 last year.
Okay, yeah.
This guy's just always trying to one up it.
All right.
Yeah. But anyways, we can move on. I think we pretty much just have some fun questions. left.
All right, hit it.
This one is very important, so I can get to know you really well. So let's say you're an astronaut on the ISS, right? And you get a call from mission control that like, hey, there's some unknown problem on this portion of the ISS, and you have to go fix it. But you can only bring duct tape, zip ties, or super glue. Not all three, just one. Which one are you guys taking?
I want to go. I'm gonna go last. I want to hear what you two think first.
I think, okay, I think I'd bring like the duct tape because super glue, I'd probably accidentally like get myself stuck to something. Zip ties, they feel too small. But like duct tape, there's just like so much, and it has so many like such a wide range of applications that I feel like it's definitely most useful.
I have to agree with duct tape, but how much duct tape or zip ties or super glue are we allowed to like bring?
Oh, this is a good question. I don't think we've thought it out that far, but let's
So
say
like
you get
one,
either a roll of duct tape, um, 200 zip ties, or I don't know what the normal amount
uh,
of super glue
A
is, but
tube.
like two bottles of glue, I think, is like the
something you could go to Home Depot and buy, and it's not like you're buying in bulk. We'll go with that.
Okay, I'll have to stick with duct tape still then.
Fair. Yeah.
Oh. I would choose the duct tape for two very specific reasons. One, I have actually glued myself like with super glue before. It's not fun. I don't think I've ever used it again, like in a serious manner. Zip ties, you can't undo them unless you go like as fair as scissors otherwise. But and then again, you'll still lose the zip ties. Uh, and I make a lot of mistakes. Uh, so I'm not doing that. Duct tape at least you can kind of take it off and reuse it. But I don't want to accidentally like blow something up because I zip tied something and I can't take it off. That kind of suck.
Yeah. I actually want to hear. This is the first time some people from our team have heard this question, so I want to know what the rest of my team would say also.
Low key, duct tape for two reasons. It can be used as both zip ties and super glue, because why can't you just, tie a knot with duct tape? I mean, why wouldn't that make sense?
That would be interesting, to say the least. Duncan, your opinion?
I'm a really big fan of zip ties. I don't know exactly the applications I'd use for them, but they've come in handy too many times for me to count, and I think I'd find more uses for zip ties than I would for duct tape. So I would stick with zip ties.
Yeah, I'd go with zip ties.
I pick
Okay.
duct tape. 'Cause I feel like if you're on the ISS, your biggest problem is always going to be making sure there's no holes in it. And I feel like out of these three, zip ties can't fix holes. Super glue like might be able to fix holes, but your best shot at patching a hole up is duct tape. Because really anything else on the ISS that's like going wrong isn't a big problem. Like if it's like one of the experiments breaks, who cares? But if there's a hole in the ISS, you're gonna die. So to me, I'm just gonna pick the guaranteed safest option of duct tape.
As the man who's patched a hole to zip tie, I can tell you that's wrong, John.
You get a zip tie metal together.
Yeah.
Have y'all watched, is it The Martian? I
You mean
think
what
it's,
one? You mean like the one with Matt Damon?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Book is great also. Where he literally fixes his entire camp with duct tape. So I think that's what I'm gonna have to go with duct tape. Um, and if I just spoiled the plot for anyone, I'm very sorry. I apologize.
Dude, I'm gonna see it
All
in
right.
theaters, man. Oh,
Well, hey, just read the book at that point.
Yeah, that is fair. All right. So, Vedansh, if you want to move on. So we made this slide at the beginning of the season, but now I kind of want to hear what you think we'll see at Worlds. So, like whether that's, new strategies we'll see in the next like coming months leading up to Worlds, or whether it's just something completely different, what you think the highest score will be. Like what do y'all expect to see um by Worlds?
Um, so on the Discord, the FTC Discord, one of our teammates actually posted on ours. There is a video of Upper Creek Auto, I think at one of their competitions, and they managed to get a 1+6 specimen autonomous. Yeah. So I think a big trend is robots making their own making the specimens within the robot. I think that's going to be a big thing at Worlds, especially a lot of the top teams are going to go and adopt that because that's where you can get all of the. It's where you get the big points, especially even during the teleop. Even you don't have to spend time going to
Yeah.
the player.
Yeah, I think in that video during teleop, I don't think they moved. They just like had that spot. And then their alliance partner just had to like work around them because they just like sat directly in front of this like the what do you call it? The specimen bar and just like pulled from the submersible and then just like cycled.
Honestly,
Yeah.
crazy.
Like it's kind of sad they added the new rules for like extending during
Yeah.
inspection because like that would be sick to, like during this season of Civic. It'd probably be possible to just like sit under the basket and not move entirely and just like solo auto, 5, 6, 7 samples easily.
I think they did that because of I think it was power play where you could just like sit in one spot and just like
Yeah,
cycle
like
the cones.
it's not fun, but it'd be cool to see at like Worlds.
Well, yeah, but
Like
that's fair. That is fair.
Yeah. No. And then, so with that coming up, what do y'all think high scores will start looking like as it becomes more common?
Forgot how many. What's the max number? What's the max number specimens you can get on the top bar? Like
I think it's,
just
I
like
think that,
physically.
there's 20 of the samples, the alliance specific samples, but I think it's like 16 or 17
Yeah, I think
that you can
I
fit.
think Upper Creek got a 17 specimen match.
Jesus Christ.
So
That's
I think they maxed out the top bar.
yeah, that's 170, not even counting auto.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll
With auto,
see.
that's like 280.
Yeah, if I add, so they got what, 6? So is another, so is 60. That's 230.
Yeah, automatic. I think when I watched the auto, it was like they went up to like 159, I believe, because they also had their team. Their
Yeah.
alliance member also got, I think, like a 0+3, could be 0+4, but it was like a crazy like team play.
Wow.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it's honestly crazy.
My question is like if there's like a hard cap on the samples, and also the basket isn't that big. It's probably like 7, 8 samples in there probably. I wonder if we'll see teams have to either like overflow the top basket or go in the lower basket because they just overflow everything else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it's possible that you could just like go between. That's actually a consideration that we have actually because right now, our robot only does high basket.
Oh,
Um,
how you doing your extension then?
basically it's just so we have FSMs for our
Yeah, well, I
software.
got that. Oh, so it's a
Yeah.
software thing, not a hardware
Yeah,
thing.
it's a
I see.
software thing. So I mean, yes, in hardware on the hardware side, like it's a 6 or 7 stage extension, and it only goes up to like maybe 3 or 4 inches above the bucket, and then we just use software and encoders to max it out, and then just go up and down every time
Oh, yeah,
with
no.
one button, which is like pretty sick.
I think yeah, we have an FSM. I think we have a middle box and coded in, but I don't think we've ever tested it because we've never actually run it, like because we've never needed to.
Right. Do you
Yeah.
guys, so for your like control, like do you manually do the extension or what? Like, do you guys have vertical slides or do you use like an arm, something like
Uh,
that?
vertical slides. We do FSM. Yeah, sorry, you can go ahead.
Yeah, vertical slides. I mean, I guess like you just press button and then it just goes to the high basket or low basket or first specimen. So
That's cool.
A lot of feedback from the drivers on what they wanted automated.
Oh yeah, well, Duncan and Ryan, our two drivers, didn't really get a choice.
Oh,
I just told them these are your buttons and they did it.
Yep.
It's
Alright.
okay.
The
I have
illusion of
2
choice.
joysticks and he has 4 buttons he has to click, so we're okay.
The illusion
We
of
can learn.
choice.
The illusion of choice, exactly.
Yeah, you
Is
know
it even an illusion? What's choice?
I don't know. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, that's fair. That's fair. I think at one point we ran out of we were getting close to the point where we were running out of buttons on the second gamepad and like our drive like the I guess we called the gunner. So we ended up having to move a bunch of things to the just like the tank drive guy who because before then
Yeah.
he just had joysticks.
Yeah.
I,
I feel
I
like,
like the gunner. That's a
yeah, that is
Yeah.
a sick name.
fire,
Yeah.
We just
fire
call it
name.
mechanism driver because, like,
Uh,
what else? Gunner is a sick name, though. I like that.
yeah.
We might steal that from you.
Yeah. So
Graciously, of course. Graciously
popular.
steal it.
Technically speaking, I also graciously stole it from a different team. So
Oh,
it's just
hey,
it's a
as long as
cycle.
it's being graciously stolen, what's the
Yeah.
problem?
It's just passed down, it's being passed down.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Open
with
source
that,
robotics.
Open source robotics, exactly.
isn't that what FTC is all about anyway?
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay to
All right,
steal
guys,
the
let's
people.
share our robot.
Yeah. I'll tell you all of our deep. No, I'm joking. Our coach would crucify us.
Yeah. I don't think our coaches would care too much, but it, it's fine. I don't think either team needs to.
Nah, I think we're both cooking with our robots.
Yeah.
Even
All
though-
right.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to move closer towards the end, Vidansh. So thank you for joining us. But before we let you go, is there anything that your team wants to share? Whether it's, you're holding some outreach event in your region and you want teams to hear about it, or any last message you'd like to share for rookie teams that are listening, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, you can go for it. I saw your mouth open. Yeah.
No, no, I was just thinking, like, yeah, do you have any teams?
No, I was no outreach events, unfortunately. We're planning one soon, but that's for the spring. We haven't talked to the person we work with, with the community library we work with to host the events, a lot of our events. We haven't had a chance to talk to them yet because the winter's been busy for them. But in terms of the rookie team advice, I since I remember the first year I did FTC. It wasn't actually with this team, but it was with a different team that ended up somewhere after I left. But it was a very hard experience. I think Sophia, you can attest to that. You were there with me in the trenches.
Oh, yeah, first year of
Yeah.
Penguin.
It was during Ultimate Goal, the COVID year.
Right.
So it was very hard to get into it. But I think something that helped keep me at least going is understanding that all the hardships, like all the difficulties we were facing, like I was facing personally and the team was facing, we're all just kind of building stones to making a much better, much more experienced, much more ingenuitive and resourceful team. Because failure is basically a package deal with these kinds of like these kinds of like or these commitments, or I don't know the exact word to put it, but I just feel
Just
like
with robotics in general. Like I get what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, no, I think one thing people should always keep in mind is failure is never final. It's that you just I think I just quoted Winston Churchill there. No, it's just you gotta remember to just if you ever get frustrated, think about hard. Just remember that this is all in the service of your team, your teammates, and the robot, and you just gotta keep going because there's nothing left because there's no point in quitting when you're that close to the finish line.
Also, just like in service for your future, since yeah, my first year was like I was on a team with Eddie. That's yeah, rough. It was like quite a learning curve, I'd say, to learn FTC programming and like doing stuff on a physical robot. But I guess I wouldn't trade that for anything. now just seeing how far like I and like the whole team, well, the creative team has come. So it's important to keep in mind that just like never give up.
I think our team can attest to that. I think we're ranked third in our league this year, and if it weren't
Yeah,
for some of
that's
the
true.
previous years we've really struggled with, we would not be doing this well.
Yeah.
If we had been like, I think in the middle of the pack the past previous seasons, we would probably still be there, but we've been towards the bottom of the pack the previous seasons, and so we're finally starting to climb up.
Yeah, yeah. Last year, at our first qualifier, I think we were like ranked second to last, in robot game.
Do not remind me. I do not want to go back.
You know, we could say the same thing. I think we were last place.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
Hey, that's it. Hey, I mean, we made it to Worlds that season, so
That's real.
that's saying something. Yeah,
yeah, you never know where you're gonna end up from when you feel like you're at your lowest. So I guess
yeah, very
take it from
true.
that. Yeah,
All right. Well, thank y'all for joining us.
yeah.
We do want to say thank you to our two sponsors this year, the Franco Brown Foundation and the Balcones chapter of the SPE. They're making our season possible, making this video possible. So thank you to our sponsors. Thank you, PigeonBots, for joining us. We had a great time.